Well, 2 years ago is when I started buying, like, literal, like, motels, and, it's just that I found some that were really super cheap, and because motels are dying. I mean, they're not, little roadside motels aren't doing well at all. Airbnb came in, sort of squashed a lot of motels, and then, of course, now the economy is sort of affecting, I think, travel for enjoyment and recreation. But so 2 years ago, I found 3 in Mississippi that, were just ridiculously cheap. I mean, like $5,000 a unit. So so it's like, "Okay, I've gotta make this happen. I've just got to make this happen. How can I make this happen?"
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Van Preston, is in the Mississippi Delta area and focuses on multifamily creative deals. Van, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dylan. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you on here. And I was mentioning before hopping on to the show here with you how interested I am in this creative deal structuring in the multifamily space, and that I think there's a lot for many people to learn, especially folks who want to get into the multifamily space. But before we hop into that, I do want to ask you how you got into real estate.
Well, it was in the 90s, so I'm in my 50s, and I was in my mid-20s when I got into it. And basically, my husband at the time and I had searched for about 2 years to find a Minnesota cabin, lake cabin. And we lived in the Twin Cities, and in Minnesota, like half the people there have lake cabins. So we spent 2 years looking for one. We finally found the one we wanted. And a few months later, I found one on the market that was like really ridiculously cheap. And so my husband didn't want to buy it and flip it. So I just maxed out my credit cards and I did it myself. And that was the start of, a career. And I've been doing that since since then. So I have a real estate degree, oh my goodness, I have a real estate license and then a marketing and management diploma from College of St. Catherine in Minnesota. So I do marketing and I do real estate, and all of those things help with what I do in investing. So
I want to ask you about that deal, credit card, and the specifics of that. So was it a down payment that you got from the card? How did that work? I've not heard of people doing this.
Yeah, well, I was really lucky. So like I said, we'd spent 2 years, so I knew the market of the cabins in northern Minnesota on lakes, and someone put a cabin on the market for $5,000. And that was about the limit of my credit cards at the time. I think I was 26 years old, and we had just had a baby. So I had a baby in tow. And so I maxed out my cards and bought it and then flipped it. I flipped it fairly quickly. I probably could have spent more time and made a lot more money than I did, but I kept on buying small ones, and then, yeah, so that was how I did it. And I think it's a different path for everyone, but that was just, how I ended up finding my first great deal and sort of getting my feet wet and jumping in.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I want to ask you a granular question and maybe give away some of the gold here, but not the whole gold bar. So was this an on-market deal, off-market, this first deal?
So it was an off-market deal. So back then, the internet was not really around. This was 97. So at the time, I would get the St. Paul newspaper every morning and scour the classifieds. So, and that's one of my, I guess, my really great talents is I will uncover every rock. I'll look everywhere I can to find a good deal. But back then, I just was looking in the for sale by owner classified section of the
Wow. And
newspaper.
so find this deal, $5,000. Was it done? I'm assuming title company, you go to a closing and you're both there signing papers and they say, hey, it's $5,000 and you swipe the card. Is that how it was?
No, I actually I think I went and got cash from my cards or something. So I got the cash
Some type of advance. Okay.
in order to do a cashier's check or something. And it's been so long, I don't remember exactly how I got the cash, but I got it from my cards. and,
Goodness.
and I actually don't recall if there was a closing or if he just did a quit claim. There must have been a closing because I would have been worried about, liens or something like that. So there must have been a closing, but my memory is starting to fade these days, so it's been almost 30 years that I've been investing essentially.
It's a while ago. That first deal can sometimes create an everlasting imprint. I want to pivot a bit here and ask you about the arc from that first deal, we're talking 90s, to when you start looking at multifamily and how that transition happened for you.
Okay, well, so I flipped for a while, for about a year and a half before I got my real estate license. I got my license in 99. But I discovered back then it was, instead of driving 3 to 5 hours to look at a property that I had not seen any pictures of because the internet wasn't a thing at that time, I decided to get my real estate license and start, buying locally in Minneapolis and St. Paul. So I did that for a while. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee in 2004, and I started instantly doing co-living because I had to. So I bought a large house on Percy Priest Lake in Nashville, and I think it had 5 bedrooms, and I turned the den into another bedroom, and I just did co-living. I just, rented out every single room except my room. And so I sort of fell into multifamily, if you could consider that multifamily. Before 2004, I'd never kept a property that I'd rented. I was just flipping. So then in 2004 was when I started renting and became a landlord. And then in 2012, I bought my first multifamily. So I'm also a singer-songwriter, and I got a song on a pretty large duo that was on a record label in Nashville. And so my first commission check, I told myself, I'm gonna use this and I'm gonna try to find a multifamily and buy it. And so I found one in a small town about 2 hours outside of Nashville. And that was my first multifamily. That was 2012. And then from there, I just kind of kept doing it, but I mostly was focusing on single families. And then in 2016, I bought a commercial building in sort of a prime area of Memphis, and I was doing rentals there. So that was, so 2012 was my first multifamily, and kind of been doing it since then.
So I'm seeing really multiple things. So first, singer-songwriter. At that point in time, we're talking 2012 timeframe, was that like all of your time and energy was the music career, or was it a little bit of both, real estate and music? What was your day-to-day like?
Well, when I moved to Nashville in 2004, I was still flipping like crazy, because that was my primary thing. And then like I said, I was renting out rooms in my house just to make, cover my bills and things like that. The recession I noticed the recession in 2007. And I think that might've been when the no-doc loans stopped, because before that time I'd been investing, 10% down on no-doc loans. And so, and it actually coincided really well because I was I was doing my own music and I had some success and I had to go and tour in Europe and a few other places that I was invited to tour. So I didn't do a lot of real estate between, well, actually between 2005 and 2011.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
So day to day, we're talking that this 2010, 2012 time frame, and slightly earlier than that. What was your day to day like? Was it a lot of music, a lot of real estate, or was it a little bit of both?
So from like when I got to Nashville in 2004, I was juggling flipping houses with, doing music. And then I would say, so my music career sort of started taking off in 2005 after I recorded my first album. And then I started doing a lot of shows and radio tours and started getting invited to do tours in Europe. And I went to Australia to do some shows there too. So from 2005 until I guess like 2011, I didn't do nearly as much real estate. I was still doing a little bit, but I wasn't doing as much as I had been before I moved to Nashville. And then and part of that was due to the recession. It was just like I
Yeah.
couldn't buy properties because there were no more no doc loans, which is how I had been buying them before, So when that
Yeah.
gravy train ended, my career in flipping houses took a little downturn because I didn't have that much cash to keep buying with cash. I'd paid, cash for a couple of properties, but I wasn't selling those. So it kind of worked out really well though, because during that time frame that the real estate market sort of took a nosedive, my music career was kind of taking off. And so I did a lot of music in that time frame. We bought one house during the recession that we were planning to flip, and it ended up we couldn't sell it, so we kept it as a rental. And
There
then
you go.
we actually there were two or three that we'd bought during that time that ended up being rentals because just couldn't sell them. And but that worked out pretty well. And then, like I said, in 2012, when I started buying multifamilies, I started with a triplex in Jackson, Tennessee, and then started buying commercial in 2016 in Memphis. That I really, my one regret is I wish I had started doing like large multifamily a lot sooner, because the sooner you do it, the sooner it's so much easier to, make a really good living when you're doing multifamily instead of when you're flipping or investing in
Yeah.
single families. So,
The adage is that you'll have a similar number of obstacles and hurdles, headaches, if you will, and so you might as well go larger. There is some leverage there. There is some risk, but if you bring on partners and if you have people who can guide you, I
hmm
think it's a great thing. When you're getting from the single family space into the commercial space, was there a certain asset class within commercial that you were heavily looking at? Small multifamily? Were you looking at several different types of deals, or were you in many ways agnostic to what you were looking at as long as it made sense?
I think like a lot of investors, I was following my heart instead of really studying the best ways to do it. So, what I did is I had a whole bunch of single families in Jackson, Tennessee that I had acquired from 2012 until about 2016 when I bought my first commercial building. And because I couldn't get a loan on this commercial building, I decided I was going to sell all of my single family residential rentals to pay cash for the commercial building. So,
Well,
so that's what I ended up doing. And um, it's just very hard to get financing for commercial or for multifamily. It's extremely difficult. And so I didn't really, I wasn't participating in any real estate investor groups. And I really wish I had been because, even back then, I think those were strong. I've been kind of a lone ranger most of my real estate career. And I think a lot of people probably learn things a lot sooner than I did because they're part of real estate investor groups. But so I've sort of learned on my own through trial and error. But yeah, I sold everything.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I had to get that commercial building. And then that's kind of what I've done to get most of my commercial buildings. And I've found really affordable deals. I've found things that either needed a lot of work or they were sort of oddball properties. Like I bought an old medical building that I'm converting to an Airbnb sort of hostel type, like a European hostel type building. And we're putting a bar in the lower level of it. And so I've just had to be super creative because when there's a lack of funding, you just start where you can and you find what you can afford and you just keep building from there. So
When you talk about these commercial spaces, do you have a specific exit strategy that you favor? You mentioned this Airbnb, like a European hostel, type of thing, or a hotel with a bar underneath. Is that something that you've done in mass, or is each commercial property different? Is each deal unique?
yeah, each deal is just unique. Like for example, we're now buying motels that we're converting to studio apartments, and one of them has a restaurant. It was a Holiday Inn Express previously, so we're going to do a restaurant in that one, but we're going to lease out that space because I absolutely don't want to get into the food industry. The real estate industry keeps me busy enough. Yeah, so each one has its own, like whatever I feel like it's best suited for is kind of what we're doing with each property.
I want to ask you about this idea of if I'm not mislabeling this hotel space, right? So buying motels, turning properties into hotels and motels. I've heard this is a tricky area of real estate to be involved in, and that there's more oversight, more maintenance, more issues that can come up. What's been your experience in this space, and how did you decide, hey, I'm going to buy hotels and motels?
Well, 2 years ago is when I started buying like literal like motels. And it's just that I found some that were really super cheap. And because motels are dying, I mean, they're not, little roadside motels aren't doing well at all. Airbnb came in, sort of squashed a lot of motels. And then, of course, now the economy is sort of affecting, I think, travel for enjoyment and recreation. But so 2 years ago, I found three in Mississippi that were just ridiculously cheap. I mean, like $5,000 a unit. So so it's like, okay, I've got to make this happen. I've just got to make this happen. How can I make this happen? And the first one, I was able to find a hard money lender who would do it. Most of the hard money lenders that I approached, because I've worked a ton of deals with hard money lenders since I moved to Memphis, and but most of them wanted to do a joint venture on these properties, and it's like I didn't want to give that up. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep this for myself because the profit's going to be there, and so the first one, I did get a hard money lender actually outside of Nashville that did that first one for me. And then the others have owner financed because motels are just like a lot of them in the smaller towns, you can't get, I mean, you have to have, it's just almost impossible to get a loan on a motel because the small ones are dying. So their numbers aren't up for the local lenders and stuff. And so I wanted to turn those into studio apartments. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. And it's just like, oh my gosh, the returns are amazing. If you can buy them super cheap, between 5 and 10,000 or, a unit.
I want to ask you about finding these deals. So a little bit different strategy, I imagine, than that first deal in the 90s, right? So when we talk about, buying motels and buying properties that can be turned into, affordable housing for people, I've
Hmm.
heard specifically when it comes to, motels, you can find some of these deals like on a LoopNet, but also
Uh,
you might just be
hmm.
able to go and identify a distressed seller from knowing the area. What has been your strategy in the case of that motel? How did you come
Hmm.
across that motel?
So I just like back in the 90s when I used to scour the classifieds, like I scour every deal wholesalers send me. I scour, I used to scour Craigslist, but I don't even bother with them anymore because there's a lot of scams on there now. But so Facebook Marketplace, LoopNet, Crexi, I don't know if I'm saying that right,
Yeah.
CREXI. And I mean, even right now, if you look at motels on LoopNet, you can find quite a few. Now, for the smaller towns, a lot of people are overpricing their motels, and I'm just like, if I'll probably be willing to go up to 15 or 20,000 per room, but other than that, I mean, there's so many variables, and you're paying more expenses for motels than you would for like a regular apartment
Yeah,
complex because you have to pay the utilities and staff and things like that.
that's right.
But when you get them cheap enough, so it can make it work even with the expenses being higher. But I would just say, just look everywhere you can. I mean, I've told every wholesaler that calls me and texts me, which is all the time, please look out for multifamilies and motels and even weird buildings. I almost bought a school building I was going to convert to
Hmm.
multifamily, and because each classroom already had its own bathroom and things like that, and the
Yeah.
seller wouldn't come down off his price, so I didn't buy that one, but it would have been a good one as well. And a lot of these weird buildings, like a medical, office building or a school, I mean, the price per square foot is just insane, and the number of units you can make in those large spaces is just incredible. So, I mean, for me, just doing it on my own without like any partner or anything like that, I've basically just focused on what can I get that I can get the most bang for the buck and put them, most people in here and make, the most number of units inside that property.
I want to ask you about schools. You're doing looking at some creative deals, right? But there's
Hmm.
also, I would say, a barrier to entry for folks who may be in the space and looking at getting into some of these creative deals. If I'm someone, let's say I have experience flipping, right? And I'm looking at getting into multifamily, what would be your advice to me? Whether it's start looking at
Hmm.
all these places that you mentioned, wholesalers, Crexy, LoopNet, Facebook. And would you tell me, hey, this is an asset class that you should really look at? Like, for instance, motels. You should really take a look at
Hmm.
motels.
Hmm. Well, what I would probably suggest to someone asking that exact question would be, because it is hard to get into motels and multifamily or even commercial buildings that you can turn into multifamily. Start with like the largest houses in the best areas you can get, that you're going to flip or that you're going to do the BRRR method. The problem with doing the BRRR method is you're not going to get your whole profit out that you're going to need, in order to go and have the absolute most cash to put down. If a distressed owner is willing to do owner financing for a short term, and then you can roll it into an SBA loan once you're, in there, or you can get a commercial loan once you're into the property. But I would just say, get the largest. Like if you can buy, say, like a single family home that's got another home on the back lot of, behind it that you can possibly get 50 to 75,000 equity if you refinance it, or if you flip it, you might get, 80 to 120, if you make a profit like that.
Yeah.
And then you can take that, and that's your seed capital that you can go and do your first deal and get your first commercial property. And like with the motels, with the first one that we got a couple years ago, basically, I mean, it had like 200,000, equity.
Hmm.
So then you can take that out when you refinance it, and and you've got that. But you have to start somewhere. So you have to build some capital because you're not going to be able to get hard money loans on some of the best deals. And so a lot of the distressed
You'll need
owners
cash.
will, yeah, a lot of the distressed owners will take, if they can see you're really hungry, they'll take, as much of a cash down payment as you have, and they'll give you, I'll do super, um, short term owner financing. I'll say 6 months to 12 months. and then I'll just pound the pavement until I find, a way to refinance it or put it into an SBA loan or something. So, I would say just
Right.
look everywhere you can for the best deal you can.
Look for the best deal. I mean, I
Hmm.
think about my journey in real estate, but I also have spoken with so many people who are going through, either right now or in the last 12 months, going through a transition and what they're investing in, but also maybe having to learn something new, whether it's flippers going into ground up construction or people going into modular homes. There's definitely a lot of interest, I would say, in uh, different deal structures when you talk about even things like self-storage and RV parks, which does have some synergy with what you're talking about here. People are having to get crafty and learn new skills. We are coming up on time here though, Van. Where can folks go if maybe they're interested in reaching out to you? Maybe they have a deal in the Mississippi Delta area they'd like you to take a look at. How can folks get in contact
Sure.
with you?
Well, so I'm on all the social media sites under Van Preston. So I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I think I did reactivate my TikTok, but I don't really do a lot of real estate on any of those. And I am a licensed real estate agent in Tennessee, so I do work with buyers and sellers in the Memphis area and in other areas of Tennessee. I'm about to get my Mississippi license. I don't do as much with buyers and sellers as I used to, just because I stay pretty busy doing my own sort of thing. Yeah, so if they look me up on those social media sites, they can also email me at vanpreston.memphis@gmail.com. So that's like my personal email. And then I have a website of my music. So it's vanpreston.com. And so that I have several like links to my music there. And I'm about to start recording another album. So I'm very excited about that. My husband's also a musician, and a producer and a recording engineer. So he's going to do a lot of it. And then I've got just a boatload of songs that I've written in the last 10 years or so that haven't seen the light of day yet. So I'm excited about that.
Van, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.